I'm sort of fascinated by a lot of things. Sneakers. These shoes are worth $12,000 to $15,000.
Oh, boy.
Denim. Ice cream.
Hey, can I guess what kind of ice cream you want?
Jewelry.
Isn't that something?
Tattoos.
Whoa.
Is it gonna keep vibrating like that?
Yeah.
I like that. And then, every once in a while, I break into song. Okay, anyway, what were we talking about?
We're talking about Cordkillers! Welcome to Cordkillers, the show about watching the stuff you love when you want, where you want, however you want. I know a lot of you are going to miss Andrew Main, the normal co-host of this show, but I'm Tom Merritt. I've been given this opportunity to fill in and take over, and I'm really thankful to Brian Brushwood for making this possible.
Oh, my goodness. Look, you're welcome. Hopefully you make the cut, kid. We'll see. But I'll tell you who definitely makes the cut is the national treasure, Jeff Goldblum. Has a new show coming out on Disney Plus called The World According to Jeff Goldblum. Also, if you haven't seen it, highly recommended. Just hop on Twitter and do a search for Jeff Goldblum Reacts to Spider-Man, because it is delightful to watch him react to one of our upcoming stories. But in the meantime, joining us live in studio, we have my BFF from OAK. It's JRY, Justin Robert Young.
That's me. I'm here.
Thank goodness. Thank
goodness. Oh, no. Come on. We're having a good time here on Cordkillers.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. We are going to talk about more than just Disney, but not for a while. So,
so pack a lunch.
So settle in, folks. We start with our primary target. D23 happened over the weekend, and we're going to talk about Star Wars in a bit here. But on primary target, we're going to talk about all the Disney Plus announcements and the MCU announcements, but, and this is the last of my prevarications, I promise, overshadowing all of that, Spider-Man involvement in the MCU up in the air. Disney and Sony say they're still negotiating. There was a lot of sturm and drang about this, and both say, well, nothing's totally decided. Nothing's off the table, but sources told Deadline that Disney wants a 50-50 co-fi stake in anything Kevin Feige produces with Sony on Spider-Man. Disney currently gets 5% of first dollar gross. So they're saying, you want to keep using Feige, you want to keep being part of the MCU, you got to up our take. In fact, you have to give us half. Now, Disney already gets all the Spider-Man merch revenue. Nobody gets any percentage of the Spider-Man merch. So they're really wanting the lion's share of Spider-Man back. Sony kind of tried to spin this and say, well, you know what it is. Kevin Feige's a busy man. They got all their Disney Plus stuff. Of course, we can't get Feige. He's just way too busy. Sony has 2 more Spider-Man films planned. They have not yet signed John Watts to direct them. He's the person who directed the last 2. And during D23, Disney announced a Spider-Man animated TV series for preschoolers on Disney Junior called Marvel's Spidey and His Amazing Friends. That may seem weird, but that's probably just something that was already in the works. That's part of the previous deal, so it's weird timing, I guess. But it doesn't undermine this. That you guys, it sounds like we might lose Spider-Man from the MCU.
A couple of things. First of all, everybody's acting like the negotiations are finished. Negotiations are never finished.
No.
If I were Sony, I would want to test the waters with, I don't know, maybe getting genuine fan reactions of whether or not people love the Spider-Man part or the MCU part, and how important the two of them are together. And I think Sony made a bold play and allowed some stuff to leak to see where this goes. And I think they got their answer. And that 50% of everything is more than 100% of nothing. And I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think they are going to kiss and make up. And oh my goodness, we found $1 billion under these couch cushions. I can't believe we are able to gather up all of these percentage points and somehow be able to pay that amount.
You are 100% right. Less this 5%. Sony leaked nothing.
Yeah,
this was a Disney
MCU.
leak. 150%. This leaked to Deadline with the idea that the negotiations were done. So who has the advantage if the story is Spider-Man is out of the MCU.
But
Disney
Sony made the official announcement.
No,
that-
they didn't. No. They reacted to the story and made sure to point out that the story that you've heard is mischaracterized. And this is really about the fact that Kevin Feige's Google Calendar. Jeez, this guy. Here's the reality. Kevin Feige, like anybody in Hollywood, is a work in progress when it comes to the price. If you're hot, you get paid more. If you're not, you get paid less. Here's Kevin Feige's 2019. 3 of the top 5 highest grossing movies and a Best Picture Oscar nomination. That means price on the package is going up whether or not it's Disney or an independent factory that is putting out these gigantic movies. He was due a raise. Disney is sick of saying, like, hey, look, we gave you the getting to know you prices for 2 movies, and you want to know what you got out of it, Sony? Your highest grossing movie of all time, which is what Far From Home was. So at that point, that's it. Half, Eddie. Half.
And don't forget, too, because I 100% agree with you, Justin, this was Disney leaking it to make Sony look bad. Because the spin on the Deadline story out of the gate was Sony's being a jerk. Well, let's boycott Sony. We hate Sony. And the fact is, it's both of them. Disney wants more money and Sony doesn't want to give it to them. Like that, it's not like one of them decided to be evil or something. It's not about that at all. But the other part of this, too, is when Sony agreed to kind of loosen up on the rights they have to Spider-Man and say, okay, we'll actually loan him out to the MCU if you loan Kevin Feige to us for the Spider-Man movies. It was partly because of the Sony hack. Like a bunch of people left Sony. They were a little bit in disarray after that hack. Remember
Amy Pascal got flushed out of Sony.
Exactly.
And then she set up her own independent thing, and then free of being the corporate steward, she was able to make the deal of the century as an independent producer.
And so that deal has now run its course, and Disney is like, seems like it worked out really well for you guys, Sony. So now, like you said, getting to know your price is over. And Sony, on the other side of it, is saying, well, okay, there was all that Amy Pascal stuff, but that's in the past now. There's a new sheriff in town, and we don't just give away money to Disney when they have all the money on Earth. We want to keep a lot of it. And so we're not going to just change the deal to give you more money without a negotiation. So, yeah, I'm actually hopeful. I'm not convinced, but I'm hopeful that they can work all this out and Spider-Man stays in the MCU. How bad is it if he doesn't, though? He was essential to the Avengers plot line up through phase 4. Phase 3 and 4, I guess, that just finished, but he doesn't, we're not doing the Avengers anymore after this. I mean, the Avengers will be there, but it's not about them. It's about the Eternals.
I think it's pretty bad. I think it's bad for Sony. I think Sony has no leverage. They have to come back with some kind of agreement. And if Disney's asking for half, I think Sony, maybe they say, you know what, we've thought really hard about it. And while we still maintain that 50% is irrational, it's insulting and it's awful, we can settle for 49.5%.
So, but you're saying it's bad for Sony. I was asking, how bad is it for Disney if they don't have Spider-Man?
Not at all.
I agree with Brian that Disney can recover from this a lot more than Sony can.
Yeah.
Because Disney can just say, oh, guess who the new leader of the Avengers is? Black Panther. You know, the character that got a Best Picture nomination? Now he's the leader of this, our major franchise. He's the new Iron Man. And everybody will rejoice. And it'll be very, very exciting. And everybody will be excited. The next Sony Spider-Man movie, let's say it does not have the same writers. Let's say it does not have John Watts, which looks at this point likely, because now if stuff really breaks down, guess who's going to get a 5-picture deal to do whatever they want at Disney? John Watts. They love John Watts. John Watts was trusted to do the epilogue for this gigantic phase that they did. Because I'm sure what Disney is telling Sony right now is exactly how much do you think Far From Home would have made if it wasn't the
part
epilogue
of the
to
MCU, yeah.
the highest grossing movie
Of
domestically of all time. If it wasn't the epilogue to that, the direct months later continuation of that story, would it have made that same amount of money? And I think realistically, the answer is no.
Yeah, I think if they don't work out this deal, and Brian, I think you're probably right that they will. But if they don't, that's it for Tom Holland. We don't see that Spider-Man anymore,
right.
Because Sony just won't want to have that look, and they'll lean into Spider-Verse.
Well, it'll be just Miles Morales. It'll be the end of I mean, and that wouldn't even be much of a tragedy because we've seen this various versions of the same, white middle class upbringing, lost his Uncle Ben story. We've seen that a lot in the movies. So if you told me that, okay, well, guess what? It's all Miles Morales' story in live action Spider-Man going forward, that'd be fine with me.
But here's where that idea runs into a problem, because the one thing that we knew, whether or not whatever weird corporate sides people want to take in this particular issue, the one thing that was rad as a Spider-Man fan is that, man, these movies were great. I'm excited to see where this goes. Yeah. And now we're hearing like, oh no, it wasn't just a trilogy. They wanted to do 4, and that's what they were looking for with this next deal. Like, you got stability. We weren't thinking about a reboot for the first time in 15 years where everything was about, let's do it again. Let's do it again. And
everyone pretty much loves Tom Holland in that role too.
Yep.
So
everybody loves.
Like, okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like the best thing about the John Watts movies are he is so good at making so much out of the lesser tier, or let's say mid-tier Spider-Man villains. We got a Vulture movie. We got a Mysterio movie.
Yeah, they're OG. They're like Silver Age, right?
Sure. Yeah. Well, no, I mean middle tier. Like they're not Doc Ock. They're not
Kingpin.
They're not Kingpin. They're not these like higher, like, all right, these are the iconic villains. Venom, who has his own franchise, right? But the rumor was the next one's gonna be Kraven. And it's like, in the John Watts lens, I'm thrilled for a Kraven movie because he made Vulture the best that a Vulture could ever be made.
Oh yeah, by a lot.
He made Mysterio the best that a Mysterio could ever be made.
100%.
And now, ... Like, that is painful for Sony in a way that it's not for Marvel.
All right, let's talk about the other Marvel stuff that Disney announced at D23. Kit Harington is joining the cast of the Eternals, playing non-Eternal Dane Whitman. Gemma Chan will play Cersei, who's one of the pivotal characters in this. Different spelling than the Kit Harington other Cersei from Game of Thrones. This is Sersi, if that's confusing you. Also, the writers Chloe Zhao is directing the Eternals. If you didn't know that already, that's not news, but that's what's making this happen. They announced Black Panther 2 coming May 6, 2022. Of course, Ryan Coogler writing and directing that. Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur coming to Disney Channel. From Lawrence Fishburne and Helen Suglin's Cinema Gypsy Productions. And I think the biggest cord-cutting news, She-Hulk, Moon Knight, and Ms. Marvel, all 3 getting live action series in development for Disney+. And they mentioned that Ms. Marvel will show up in the MCU as well.
So I'm not at all familiar with the Ms. Marvel franchise. What should I know going into it? Does anybody know?
I'm not familiar with it either, but according to this Deadline article, Ms. Marvel is written by Bisha K. Ali. Ms. Marvel focuses on a teenager named Kamala Khan, a Pakistani American from a religious family in New Jersey who has polymorphous powers, having the ability to stretch and change shape. The comic won a Hugo Award for Best Graphic Story in 2015.
Yeah, the comic was a big deal.
And it is in the Captain Marvel universe, right?
Okay. I don't know.
I don't know.
That is what I had always understood it to be. If I'm incorrect, then
so I will say
apologies.
I read a bunch of issues of Moon Knight in my teenage years, and he always struck me as sort of just another a Batman knockoff kind of. But I'll tell you what, man, I deeply loved She-Hulk, and so here's the question: She-Hulk, if you're not familiar, is Bruce Banner's cousin. They have a similar blood type. He does a blood transfusion, and so she turns green. But unlike the Hulk, which is basically Jekyll and Hyde, you have a mild-mannered scientist who goes crazy all the time. She just becomes freaking fabulous, strong, buxom, and green, and is just awesome at everything. For a big stint, she took over for the Thing on the Fantastic Four. I loved this comic book because they went full on wacky Weird Al with it, where she was the Deadpool. She was female Deadpool. Before Deadpool was acknowledging that there was a reader reading this, She-Hulk would do stuff like, well, we got to get there the fastest way possible. And then she would tear a hole in the panel of the comic book. Then the next page would be one of those classic ads that had the current price for all the back issues of a thing. And she would march across it, tear another hole, and then says, and now we're here. And then it was amazing. I wonder if they get wacky like that with all of that. I would love it.
Quite possibly. Also, She-Hulk, in terms of a television series, she famously was a lawyer. So you can do basically a like Marvel courtroom. It's
going to be a
drama.
procedural.
I would love it. I would love it. I would be all in. I mean, that's not even. I'm not even joking when I say that.
And also, by the way, now that the Netflix deal has lapsed, that is a natural way that you can reintroduce a new Matt Murdock Daredevil if she is a lawyer. So, look.
Ally McShe-Hulk.
Exactly.
She-Hulk.
So I mean, like, She-Hulk is a much more fleshed out character than people who are not familiar with her, I think, give her credit for. She is not just like, and no apologies to Batgirl and Supergirl. Like, they are great characters in and of themselves. She-Hulk is a very different character. She is not just the same character that's also a woman. She has a great lineage to it. I think you have a lot of stuff to choose from. Moon Knight is very interesting because I love Moon Knight. And there's a lot of fun, silly things about Moon Knight, but I hope they got a strong vision for it. Like, that's all.
And if anyone doesn't know, Moon Knight, aka Mark Spector, is a former CIA agent who's almost killed, but his life is saved by the moon god Khonshu, and he has like 4 people in his head or something like that.
There's a lot of silly stuff going on with Moon Knight. All I know is that Moon Knight's one of my favorite random Marvel pulls. If I ever need a random Marvel pull, I'll go with Moon Knight. But now that he has his own TV series, I'm gonna have to go deeper. So, U.S. agent, you're on the bench.
I remember a moment in the FSL Tonight coverage where you mentioned Moon Knight and Scarlet Witch as crazy possible call-ups, and we now have them both.
And now one was in the highest grossing movie of all time, and the other got top billing for Disney's gigantic new over-the-top streaming service.
Speaking of that other Disney Plus stuff, live action Lady and the Tramp, not going to theaters anymore, coming straight to Disney Plus at launch, November 12th. So these are real dogs, trained dogs. I'm sure there's going to be some CG modification of them here and there. I can't imagine them being trained to eat spaghetti together, but we'll see. The spaghetti is shown in the trailer. It doesn't show them eating the spaghetti in the trailer. There's also Noelle, starring Anna Kendrick and Bill Hader, debuting also at launch on November 12th. That's Anna Kendrick as Noelle Kringle, who has to take over her dad Chris's business, delivering presents to all the boys and girls at Christmas. A short form unscripted series called Muppets Now. Unscripted and Muppets seems not true, but the idea is it will appear to be unscripted and there'll be celebrity guests and all of that. That's coming in 2020. And they announced the name of the Phineas and Ferb movie to be called Phineas and Ferb, the movie, Candace Against the Universe, where Phineas and Ferb have to save their sister Candace. They didn't give a date on that, but that is also coming to Disney+.
Super excited about Phineas and Ferb. The unscripted Muppets project. What's funny is I wanted to summarize it like, so it's like The Office. I'm like, but that was what the previous series was them doing The Office.
What I think they want is the spirit of the actual Muppet Show, which was really a show about a show that's going off the rails.
Right.
Yeah. Like, they were putting on a show, but it was always going backstage to find out what chaos.
The backstage bits with the celebrities, I think, is kind of what this seems like it'll try to capture.
That's what they want, is that what they realized with the Office version of the Muppets was that, like, number one, the idea of making it adults only was stupid. Like we don't want to hear about Kermit the Frog's affairs and like the band actually smoking weed, right? Like, we want to just see chaos. We like these characters under pressure. We want to see them under pressure. So unscripted means that it's more like Watch What Happens on Bravo or something like that.
Or maybe it's actually just ad-libbed, improv, set up a situation. Maybe there's something truly unscripted.
I mean, I'll tell you what, after watching so many episodes of Defunctland, their whole series on the Jim Henson's work, when you see the chemistry and the natural improv ability and the strength of the engine, the folks behind all those puppets, I mean, I could totally see them just saying like, yeah, feel the space out. Let's see where it goes and go.
Okay, so there are 2 Disney Plus announcements that we'll talk about in a second. Mandalorian and the announcement of Ewan McGregor and Kenobi series. But all this Disney Plus content is going to cost you $6.99 a month. We already knew that. Disney announced that price will include 4 simultaneous 4K streams. So much cheaper than the $15 you pay for equivalent simultaneous streams from Netflix. And up to 7 profiles for family members. Netflix gives you 4 right now. That will not apply across the bundle. If you do get that Disney Plus, ESPN, Hulu bundle for $12.99, you still only get 2 simultaneous ESPN Plus streams and 1 Hulu stream. But the Disney Plus part of this is pretty darn generous.
Yeah, I mean, across the board, no matter how you squint, this is a very aggressive offer. Although, to my astonishment, we were talking about this a couple hours ago. What to me is an obvious slam dunk, as the parents of 3 little girls, is not a slam dunk to Bryce. Bryce didn't even know if he was going to sign up for it.
Yeah, I think I have Marvel fatigue. I'm not in on Star Wars very much. Nachio's okay.
What'd you say after that Goldblum trailer?
I was very excited about the Goldblum trailer.
No, the words out of Bryce's mouth was, so I guess I'm signing up for Disney Plus.
But that's the kind of stuff I would need to see.
Yes.
Is not these franchise, not tied to, Disney or Pixar. I mean, I guess the Pixar original stuff, which we don't know too much about.
I think what we saw from the Goldblum thing, whether or not it is characterized as the Nat Geo element of this, like they keep that in the big little like Avengers thing.
That's a silent.
That's I think what they're looking for there. It's like if you like travelogue, adventure-y, like you're gonna learn a new thing every day. That's their version of it. We're gonna bring celebrity to it on a level that you have never seen before.
If up until that point that Bryce uttered those words, I would have said, well, maybe this just isn't your particular cup of tea. Sure. Disney has plenty of Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars fans to keep it going. High School Musical, list goes on. But the genius of this could be that they're like, even people who don't like all of these massively popular things will have a Jeff Goldblum.
I mean, Tom, come on, they're Disney. Nobody's not a customer. Everyone is a potential customer, and if they don't have everyone's money, then they blame only themselves, and they work diligently to separate you from your cash.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. That's why it's important that you don't spend all your cash on Disney, because you'll need it. You'll need it for food. You'll need it for shelter. You'll need it for supporting this show. I mean, we only want $1. That's it.
Look, here's the thing. Disney is coming for your cash, and nobody else has the fortitude to tell it to you like we do. You got to hide that cash. You got to put it someplace safe, someplace that Disney can never, ever get to any of it. And we recommend...
Anyone asked, our Patreon isn't technically a Disney shelter.
Yeah.
But...
I'm Bob Iger. Where's all the money? I've taken the Star Wars money.
Quick.
I've taken the Pixar money. I've taken the Marvel money. Where's new money?
Bryce, quick, take this shoebox of cash. Go to patreon.com/Cordkillers and pledge at least $1 an episode.
Throwing the money at the screen.
Patreon.com/Cordkillers, my natural weakness.
It's your only hope, folks. Hey, that's trademark Disney. All right, let's talk about how to watch. Speaking of Star Wars, let's talk about the big Star Wars announcements at D23, starting with the trailer out for The Mandalorian. They also announced that Ming-Na Wen will be in the series. She was not in the trailer, but they announced that she will have a part in the series. They didn't say what part. The Mandalorian also stars Pedro Pascal. And if you haven't been keeping track, Gina Carano, Giancarlo Esposito, Emily Swallow, Carl Weathers, Omid Abatai, Werner Herzog, and Nick Nolte. What did y'all think of that trailer?
It was awesome. And I am very, very guarded when it comes to excitement about Star Wars stuff. Every time I give my heart over, I regret it. But it looks like they're striking a tone that I've wanted for 30 years now, that I had in all of the expanded universe books, and it looks like they're finally doing it.
It looks great when you are giving how important this announcement is to Disney, to Star Wars, which, by the way, to Brian's point, has not garnered universal praise in its post-Disney acquisition. When you have the stones to give Werner Herzog, one of like our universe's classic weirdos, the only speaking lines in the entire trailer, and he nails it. It gives me a lot of hope. I'm cautiously optimistic, though, because I've been very optimistic about other Star Wars properties that I have not loved. But I love Jon Favreau. I think he is a very capable steward. And if you look at the visuals on this is dealing with like season 7, season 8 Game of Thrones budgets for season 1. Yeah. They are throwing money at this.
This is the used universe. It's in new locations. It's going to confuse some people that don't realize that Mandalorian armor doesn't always mean Boba Fett. I've already had a couple of people go, "Is this so Boba Fett's in this?" I'm like, no, as far as we know, no. But it is the future of Disney Plus, and they are not sparing any expense in cast. They're not sparing any expense in directors. Taika Waititi involved. He's also going to do some voiceover for a character. So they're throwing everything they can at this.
It's a good trailer, and there's no content or anything really given away. There's I dug it. It was great seeing Carl Weathers. I don't know why that part made me so happy.
Same here, actually. Just seeing Carl Weathers, like, oh yeah, right, cool.
Baby, you got a stew going.
Clone Wars will return to Disney Plus in February. We knew it was coming to Disney Plus, but we didn't know when. Now they're saying in February. And as I mentioned, Ewan McGregor confirmed he will play ObiWan Kenobi in a Disney Plus series, all scripts written and ready to start shooting next year. If all the scripts were written, Kathleen Kennedy said, does that mean that they just took the movie ideas and turned them into TV scripts?
That's the scuttlebutt we've been hearing. That's the rumors that Mandalorian was originally going to be a film, right? And then they adapted it into this series.
Well, initially, there was going to be a Boba Fett movie by Josh Trank, and then Trank went. And
before that, there was going to be a Boba Fett live action TV show as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's because now we're dealing with pre-acquisition.
Yeah, that was
ideas.
pre-Disney.
So that was announced. Like the Boba Fett movie was announced, and that didn't happen. There was a director attached to an Obi-Wan movie, at least by the rumors, that wound up not happening. I hope that these were kind of reimagined ideas, that you had general conflicts that you then took forward. You had properties and people attached that you then did something different with. But this is, look, Ewan McGregor is at a point in his career where he's kind of the perfect prestige TV actor, playing a role that, as much as the prequels are particular tastes for people that are younger than me, then they still are well beloved, with an element that is old enough to pay for a Disney Plus subscription.
Yeah. Boy, listen to this roiling cauldron of enthusiasm that the three of us are expressing for.
Well, look.
Can we go back to talking about The Mandalorian? Because that looks awesome.
I will say this: the prequels were not the actors' fault. I am excited for a better written version of an Obi-Wan story with an even more wizened Ewan McGregor.
100% agreed. 100% agreed. But I mean, one of the things that I'm most excited about The Mandalorian is wow, that's definitely not Tatooine. Look over there. That's also definitely not Tatooine. I don't hear a single gasping wheeze.
That's your thing. That's your thing. So a Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan series is never going to appeal to you.
No. I think
it overcomes that objection, and you say, "Oh, it's better. It's better than I expected," even though it has all this.
Oh, no. I actually think there's tremendous potential in there, because he spent a lot of time in the woods. This is the story of somebody who, much like the Mandalorian, is on the run, on the outskirts. He's hiding, and he's trying to keep. Think of how many great stories are about a character just trying to keep his nose clean who can't afford to cause any trouble, but at some point he sees injustice that makes him have to engage. I mean, there's a lot of those tropes they can play with.
Well, beyond the idea that if you're going to tell a story that involves those 3 movies that came out in the late 70s and early 80s, then one that I'm fairly interested in is like, what is the procedural of ObiWan Kenobi, guy in the sand, that like every once in a while somebody starts sniffing around and now he has to do the preemptive work to make sure that nobody knows that this kid growing up on the moisture farm is who he is.
Here's
like,
the way I picture it.
There's good fodder there.
It could really work if The Mandalorian is Star Trek The Next Generation and then this is Deep Space Nine. Star Trek The Next Generation was about exploring the boundaries, the edges of space. Deep Space Nine was a small town and a sheriff. Those two coexisted for a few years together, and they were different enough but also unified that it really worked. So that could totally happen.
And then finally, the Rise of Skywalker trailer was played at D23. They did not release it to the public until Monday, but now everybody can watch it. It shows Rey wielding a version of a double-bladed red lightsaber, but it also shows a lot of other things. And in addition, during the panel on the Rise of Skywalker at D23, J.J. Abrams said, the character of Leia is really, in a way, the heart of this story. When we were talking about this story, we realized we could not possibly tell the end of these 9 films without Leia. Based on the trailer, some people are speculating that maybe Leia starts training Rey at some point. They do a lot of setting up of the previous films in release order by clips, not in chronological order, which seems to me less about setting up ties to the earlier stories and more about just playing on your nostalgia heartstrings. But what did you guys think?
Yeah, it seemed like a sizzle reel just to like, hey, remember how you felt about these Star Wars moments? Here's a cool new lightsaber. We like your money.
I mean, yeah, it's a new version of an old lightsaber, and they do show Darth Maul in the little nostalgia run-up.
Look, they want to sell this, understanding that for whatever reason, people did not universally cotton to The Last Jedi. I personally really dug it.
I love it.
Like the reality of it is,
I mean, you keep saying universally to cut. There are a bunch of people who made a lot of loud noise about not liking it.
Whatever. But I'm just saying it was not universally, like, it was fractious. There was an online fractious element that I think has driven Star Wars to understand that they want to sell this movie not as a sequel to The Last Jedi, but rather the final chapter in a 9-movie saga. And that's what they are selling here, is that if you've ever loved any of these previous 8 movies, you owe it to yourself to see how it really ends, and it comes out this December.
Yeah. If you think saying it's wizard is cool, you'll even still like it.
Exactly. Right?
Yeah.
Do a barrel roll on your way to the theater this December.
All right. Let's talk about what to watch in Under Surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location. Under surveillance.
Yes, other companies besides Disney do make content. And one of those companies is Netflix, which released a teaser for El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. That's the name of it. El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, coming to Netflix October 11th, which they describe as, in the wake of Jesse Pinkman's dramatic escape from captivity, he must come to terms with his past in order to forge some kind of future. It does star Aaron Paul and maybe other people we know from Breaking Bad.
I'm going to guess that Saul Goodman is not in there because Bob Odenkirk just started spilling the beans on it. Like, hey, how come nobody's talking about the fact that they made a movie? Because they definitely went and made a movie. That's so weird that it's still a secret.
He's almost certainly in it. And
He's
so
is in it, right? Because they could so easy to do pickup shots of him when they're shooting Better Call Saul.
And so is what's his butt?
Walter White.
Walter White. Like, look, this is going to get everybody back together. This is going to be a Breaking Bad movie. The way that
so Walter White's going to be a Force ghost.
No, flashbacks. This is going to be about flashbacks. About
Eileen had a really good idea. We were talking about it this morning. She's like, what if Pinkman's like he's high and he imagines?
Oh, no. I don't think you even need to go there. What you do is the first 20 minutes is a standalone vignette from the good old days.
Yeah.
When times were good. So it's a standalone, almost like a mini episode that we just love, and then smash cut to,
literally,
how bad
that's the entire
everything is.
conceit of Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
Better
that's
Call
true.
Saul is him always beginning every season in the hell that he lives
I like
in now.
the idea of Walter sort of being Jesse's conscience, though.
Sure. I mean, look, however they decide to go, I'm with it. I like that idea. I'm just excited that they want to go back into this universe. I think that all these actors, like as soon as you see this thing with Skinny Pete or whatever, that's a great little scene. Reminds you of all the fun you had with Breaking Bad, and I think it's going to be great. I mean, this has been rumored to have. I think it shot like about a year and a half ago under the code name Greenbrier in Albuquerque. But I think when all the like rumors you need to know about who's in the movie, you can probably just Google who was spotted in Albuquerque while they were shooting a movie called Greenbrier.
Yeah. Warner Brothers is working on a new Matrix movie starring Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss somehow. Produced, directed, and co-written by Lana Wachowski.
Cautiously optimistic on this one. I think it could be really, really great. I think it's a rich world. I think nostalgia is at the right amount. I think the only way you would go sideways is if Keanu Reeves had lost his edge, which he most certainly has not. And I'm optimistic.
I don't think that's the only way you could go sideways.
Well, sorry, fair enough. Also, the Wachowskis have not had a stellar track record.
This is
And
Wachowski.
This is just Lana.
Wachowski.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So not both.
And maybe the other one
that's
was
the risk
holding them back.
factor here. That could also be. I mean, both Wachowskis worked on all three films. All three films weren't all that great. One of them was. So,
one of them was one of the most iconic movies of the last 50 years.
Not having both of them work on the fourth one isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's an unknown. It's a gamble.
I mean, look, your excitement of this movie should be judged by, at its most optimistic, what you thought of their best movie that they've done since The Matrix, which in my mind is Cloud Atlas, and at its worst should be Jupiter Rising. Like
Jupiter Ascending?
And Cloud Atlas
Whatever.
is not that universally acclaimed either. So
Again,
Speed Racer.
yeah.
Speed Racer is well acclaimed.
but that was right after The Matrix, right? That was like their first movie after the Matrix trilogy.
Ooh.
I believe it was. I believe it was after Revolutions. That was the first one that they did right after that.
2008.
So that about makes sense, right? I don't think I did anything in between.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyway, my point is this. They are acquired tastes. Who knows whether or not Lana wants to take something in a totally other direction, whether or not there are elements of the Matrix that she wants to highlight. But for everybody who's like, how are they going to bring back these characters? Sweet Lord, how are we going to bring back our Jesus figure?
It's not like we could just resurrect
Oh
them.
my God. However, has anyone brought a Jesus figure back from the dead?
Yeah, it can't be done.
Can't be done.
Yeah. Third season of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is out for its return to Prime Video. I mean, the trailer for it is out for its return to Prime Video on December 6th. Oh, and trailer for Dickinson, which is coming to Apple TV Plus this autumn, is out. Dickinson is a half-hour comedy starring Haley Stanfield as the poet Emily Dickinson. It's going to be great, Brian.
Laugh riot.
Gonna be great.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel season 2 ended in a disgusting fashion.
Not a fan?
I've been around the block enough with Sherman Palladino that I know that the things that I love, her and her husband don't, and they're just gonna keep giving me dumb romantic decisions and quirky characters that get way too much screen time.
I love how they talk, though.
Great dialogue. Great
keep
dialogue.
talking.
I keep coming back, and look, the production values have never been higher on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I wonder what country they're going to unnecessarily set 4 episodes in this season.
You know, having just been in France, Justin.
Oh, yeah. Look, you would be happy to get paid to go there. And I'm sure they're all
Welcome to
thrilled.
Tom's second season.
Unjustifiably went to France. All right, let's talk about what we've had our eyes on. Something you watched recently that you love, Justin.
Wait, what happened?
We're saying things that we loved, and you're going to give the answer, The Righteous Gemstones.
Brian, The Righteous Gemstones is a show that was created, written, and directed by Danny McBride. At least the first episode is. It takes place in the world of televangelists who have a megachurch, a dynastic family, and is really a murderer's row of heavy communicators. John Goodman is your patriarch. Danny McBride is the first in line, and Mark Devine, or Devine,
Adam
rather.
Devine.
Adam Devine. Sure. There, that one, him too.
Any of those.
He is from Workaholics and various other projects. Is the screw up third son. I don't know the name of the actress's. I don't know the actress's name now, but the daughter of that family is really.
She's the best.
The stealth murderer, because I will learn her name after I've hung my head in shame for not giving her props on this podcast. But it is hilarious, and it goes there if you enjoyed the down moments, the emotional resonance of Eastbound and Down, but also are very excited about the kind of lunacy and dumb characters doing dumb things. There's a lot of Coen brothers to this show.
Yep.
And that's something that I really, really appreciated. I'm shocked that we have not had a series in this world until now, and I'm thrilled that the people who are doing it now are the people that are doing it.
Yep. We'll talk about it in spoiler time, so get ready for a lot more of us saying it's good.
Probably, yeah. Would it be? So let's see. I'm still trying to find that name for Justin here.
The daughter.
Yeah.
Slap my face, Daddy. I'm a gemstone.
Did you see in the trailer that we've got a Walton Goggins appearance coming?
Yeah, I don't normally. This is a testament. You know how much I hate those scenes from future episodes. Totally watched it. Totally saw Walton Goggins. Got very excited. Edie Patterson is her name, and she is.
What
great.
else has she done?
She was also in Vice Principals, another Danny guy. Thing, Partners, The Underground.
Whatever. Here's all I know is that she is very often the best part of that show, and I am excited to see her career absolutely explode.
So that's 2 votes for The Righteous Gemstones. I will vote for The Righteous Gemstones as a thing I watched that I loved recently as well. We'll talk about that on Spoilerin time. But as usually happens when I go on long plane flights, I end up watching things I would never watch otherwise. This time I watched the Finding Bill Murray documentary, mostly because it was an hour and I didn't have that much left in the flight. And I ended up surprisingly liking it more than I thought I would. I watched Vice, which I found to be exactly what I expected. Epic performances and pretty predictable storytelling. I watched Tolkien, which is better than some people had told me it was. But the one that I was most surprised at how much I enjoyed was Alita Battle Angel. It was perfect plane movie. It reminded me of when I watched Solo on a plane and liked it better than I watched it in the theater. Because for some reason, you need a movie that taxes your brain a little less when you're on an airplane, but entertains you well enough to keep you interested. And that was Alita Battle Angel for me.
I'll bet also some of the aesthetic decisions worked better on a very small LCD screen in front of you.
For sure. Yeah.
But you're right, man. Solo, just separate side jag. I think Solo might be the best Star Wars movie since Empire.
I think you're wrong.
Okay.
And you should really stop embarrassing yourself with that awful take.
It reminds me of everything I love about the expanded universe. Anyway, hey, Bryce, what should we be on the lookout for?
I also didn't like Solo very much. Hey, everybody, we got.
You know he was named Solo because he was alone.
Okay, stop.
That's why he got the name Solo.
I've got.
You know that Solo means alone.
You've already lost the shower. You could lose the room too.
I've got something to be on the lookout for. A few weeks ago, I finished binge watching TBS's Claus on Hulu. This is a really great crime comedy starring Niecy Nash. It follows the staff of a Florida nail salon who are laundering money for an opioid dispensal clinic. When Nash's character Desna finishes her contract with the mob and wants out, they stiff her on her buyout, and she takes matters into her own hands. It's a really fun, organized crime story, and it doesn't feel kind of empty the way that NBC has a very similar show called Good Girls. I feel like Good Girls is a little empty and kind of dry, where this feels really full of personality and a lot of good characters. There are also a lot of similarities to Breaking Bad in this, including the fact that Dean Norris is in it, and anything Dean Norris does is super good. I think it's a good watch. There are 2 seasons of it now on Hulu. TBS has all 3, but you may need a cable authentication for that.
It also is very Florida.
Very Florida.
If you like the Florida of it all, dumb money, people dressing up when they don't have to, drugs, opioid clinics, like, man, you're gonna love Claus.
It's very good. I highly recommend it.
Florida man says Claus is very Florida. If you got something we should be on the lookout for, email us cordkillers@gmail.com. All right, folks, as we always do, we like to tell you about other things we are doing so that you can enjoy the expanded universe of myself and Brian. And this week, Brian, is one of those awesome times when we are both working on the same thing.
Heck yeah, man. Joining us on our live show at the Out of Bounds Comedy Festival tomorrow. If you're in the Austin area, if you're within the sound of my voice, please head on down to the Hideout Theater at 8 o'clock for 2 openers and Night Attack doing a show live along with one Tom Merritt.
$10, doors at 8, three acts. The headliner downstairs, be in Night Attack. I'll be there. Justin will be there. Brian will be there. You will be there.
Heck
$10, man, cheap.
Yeah,
like,
you know what?
We have never done.
I'm going to tweet this out right now, man.
We have
This is
never
exciting.
done a Night Attack show that has cost as cheap as $10 when it was just Night Attack. Like, so you get us and 2 openers. We're doing a full hour and change. We are the headliners, so it is going to be an absolute blast.
And Bryce will not buy you a beer.
No, that's I don't know.
So stop asking.
He's not 21. He can't do that.
Yeah.
He's too young.
You're thinking of even littler Tommy from earlier today.
Oh, sorry. I get that mixed up.
All right, let's move on to the front lines.
Front lines.
Apple TV Plus may cost you $9.99 a month when it launches in November, if you believe the sources who are talking to Bloomberg. Financial Times sources also say Apple has increased how much it wants to spend on the programming. This is probably a little more believable to me. They have spent around $1 billion. At least that's what's been budgeted or been reported to have been budgeted. And apparently that has increased to $6 billion. And Bloomberg reports that Apple is spending $300 million on just the first 2 seasons of The Morning Show. Apple, of course, has not announced any of this, but I'll be honest, $9.99 a month. Apple likes to just price things in round numbers, and that just seems right. I can imagine Tim Cook coming up on stage and announcing Apple TV Plus at $9.99 a month.
Look, this is the part where I make the same joke that I made for 10 years now, that it's going to be great. Who would have thought 10 years ago when we started this podcast that Apple itself, its own star, would be, if not tarnished, just diminished to the level that it is now, and that it would be so late to this game, and that it would have such tepid announcements and incremental. Nothing about this feels revolutionary to me. It's remarkable to me that this is the timeline that we live in.
No, this is the Apple playbook.
Right, Apple didn't make an announcement.
I know.
Apple
but
is not tarnished.
Okay, we can talk about that. Have me on DTNS. But I just can't believe it's still not out. It's still not a thing.
Oh no. At this point, it's coming in November. We're pretty much certain of that. And they're going to announce it at either their September or October announcement, which they always have, one in September and one in October.
Gambling Man exactly has my take on this. Apple TV Plus releasing side by side with Disney Plus is suicide, and I love it.
Oh, they're also not late to a game. Apple's never late to a game. They're like a wizard. They arrive exactly when they mean to.
Sure.
And Apple TV Plus isn't competing with Disney Plus. I get really kind of skeptical at these, like, it's got to be Netflix or Disney Plus, or it's Apple TV Plus or Disney Plus. Like, that's just not the way the market works.
If they got the shows that'll get the press, then they'll have the prestige, and that's what Apple wants. Tom's right. They're never late. They're always there when they perfect the thing. Now, can you be skeptical about service Apple? 150% you could be skeptical about service Apple, because the only thing that Apple has a sterling record on is hardware. That's not services. Now, they've done well with Apple Music. That has by far been their most successful service to date. You would think that that is a little bit closer to what they're going to do with this television offering versus, let's say, iWork, or something like that, or iCloud, which has been spotty. But they're spending a lot of money. And there's the chance that, like, if the morning show looked good, right? It looked Sorkin-y in the better ways that you liked Sorkin-y kind of stuff. But if it's not good, which right now Apple has 0 record on. And by the way, if let's say Apple Music is their best thing, that was just them going to set record companies and set artists and saying, hey, can we pay you exorbitant amounts of money to be exclusive to your album for 2 weeks? And they even had to drop that because that became too much of a cash burn. Like, there's reasons to be skeptical about this service that don't necessarily mean that, like, Apple's star is tarnished.
Netflix is testing a feature called Collections for its iOS app. These are created by people on the Netflix creative teams and based on genre, tone, storyline, character traits, etc., not on your personalized viewing habits. Examples are Let's Keep It Light, Dark and Devious TV shows, prize-winning movie picks, Watch, Gasp, Repeat, and Women Who Rule the Screen. I love this. I think this is a very smart experiment for them to make.
Yeah, honestly, Facebook is doing this with news. They're hiring people to curate a news section. YouTube should do this for stuff. They're not. But the antidote to algorithm weariness is expert selection, and I think this is a good idea for Netflix to get ahead of that, because the one constant complaint about Netflix really isn't they don't have anything to watch. That's not the actual complaint. That people fear that. But the actual complaint about Netflix is I turn it on and I can't decide what to choose. And this is a way to help people do that. That's what they need to crack.
The one thing I have a problem, not with this concept, but more with just the way they've executed on it. Like, I just don't think anyone actually looks for those things. They're making products for people that they hope they're expecting that they might want curiously candid TV. But I never say to my wife, hey, are you in the mood for curiously candid TV?
No, I really want Watch, Gasp, and Repeat right now.
Exactly. It's like, just give me all of this actor. You want to know who we love? This actor, this director, this showrunner. Like, that's what I think that they should be focusing more on is who's ever in the zeitgeist right now. Let me explore their old stuff. Let me discover me the thing that they are making new, which they're already pretty good at their algorithmic stuff.
All right, this is one of those so you can know it for sure stories. You probably thought Disney had already sold off the regional networks if you were even thinking about it at all, but Disney has officially closed its sale of the Fox Sports regional networks. Remember that they bought them from Fox, but they were required by the U.S. regulatory agencies to sell them within 90 days. That's done. Sinclair Broadcast Group now owns most of the Fox Sports regional networks that Disney acquired. So Fox Sports Ohio, Fox Sports West, etc. The one exception is the Yes Network, which broadcasts the Yankees games and the Brooklyn Nets games. That is now jointly owned by private equity investors, a stake that Sinclair owns, and Amazon. So that's an interesting twist here. Sinclair is also going to start their own new regional sports network with the Chicago Cubs to launch in 2020.
Imagine what that bundle would have been if it was what Disney originally wanted it to be, which was to include all of those regional sports nets, which they were apparently the ESPN side of Disney was very desirous of when the merger first started, that you'd be able to get all those live television rights. You'd be specifically for baseball and basketball and hockey. That would have been a gigantic play, but the government said niche.
I wonder what branding they're going to come up with for these, and will they provide a streaming service that just gives you access to all of them? I mean, for years on DirecTV and cable networks, you've been able to like get access to anything that isn't blacked out.
The package, you'd be able to get the package, the baseball package, the hockey package.
You could just get the regional sports network package which your hockey, your major sports would be blacked out on if you didn't pay for them extra, but you get like high school sports, college, some college sports that weren't blocked out. So I'm wondering if they're going to do some kind of deal like that. It's the Diamond Sports Group is the subsidiary. So I imagine the name will be something around that, although that sounds so baseball.
Yeah.
Starting September 24th, all YouTube original series, movies, and live events will be released for free with ads, as well as continuing to be available without ads on YouTube Premium. Is this them admitting defeat, or is this?
Well, no, we talked about the fact that they were doing this and you loved it.
I do.
This is finally happening.
I do, and I do love it, and I do think it's great from the consumer side of things. But I'm also betting this is not how they wanted this to go. My guess is that they had hoped that the originals would be so precious that everybody would sign up to YouTube Premium and that they'd be able to keep all of them behind the curtain. So I'm just wondering. This is more like in a world where we already know it makes sense. How do you think they're feeling about this moment?
Oh, I don't know. It feels like old news to me. To me, this is more about like, hey, remember that thing that we all thought was a good idea? It's happening on September 24th. But I think it's smart. I think it's YouTube realizing that their big advantage is just bringing people in the door, and getting rid of ads is a much more compelling way to get somebody's money if they like a thing than trying to get them to watch it behind a paywall. I guess YouTube audience just doesn't like paywalls.
It's a retreat. It's a retreat for YouTube. YouTube has always ventured into this idea that people want to pay for YouTube. Guess what? No matter how many times you knock on that door, the answer is going to be no. YouTube is the place where you watch free stuff, and we tolerate ads because ads are what come with free stuff.
Right.
In channel addition news, YouTube TV will now let you add on Acorn TV for $6 and the Urban Movie Channel for $5. And Sony's PlayStation Vue is going to bring you the NHL Network and the newly launched ACC Network. Both of those will be available in the core package or any of the packages above that.
Awesome.
All right, let's move on to the dispatches from the front. Joshua ran across a thing on Twitter that he thought was a good resource for the Cordkillers community. So he's sharing the link with us. It's a long link, and we'll have it in the show notes. But if you go to realcordcutters.blogspot.com, look for the August 2019 post, you'll find a nice, long and detailed guide to cord cutting.
Also, Zach chimed in on a story we did last week about the emergency alert tone, saying that the reason the FCC is so careful with the emergency alert tone is because the emergency alert system is designed to be triggered by its very broadcast. The tone acts as a switch, which propagates the alert across a broadcast area, daisy chains from when one station receives a message from multiple other stations, and the station then forwards that message to multiple other stations. This process creates many redundant paths through which the message can flow, increasing the likelihood that the message will be received by all participants and adding to the survivability of this system. During the October 24th, 2014 episode of Bobby Bones' nationally syndicated radio show, Bones played audio from the 2011 national test as part of a rant about a genuine test from a Fox affiliate that interrupted Game 2 of the 2014 World Series on October 22nd. The errant emergency action notification was relayed to some broadcasters and cable systems, particularly those not configured to reject EAN messages that did not match the current date. Hope that clarifies things. Man, that's fascinating stuff. Thank you very much, Zach.
No, it's interesting stuff. It is certainly not the reason. The reason is they don't want people to be fooled into thinking there's an emergency happening when there's not. But it is an addition to one of the ways that things can go wrong. So thank you for that, Zach. And Amber said, my best friend has shared her Netflix password with me since before Netflix had the option to have profiles. Then I got her hooked on Star Trek Discovery when I had acquired season 1. I decided I liked Discovery enough to actually pay for CBS All Access. I looked up their terms of service and found I could have up to 3 simultaneous streams. I decided to sign up and share my login info with my friend as a thank you for letting me use her Netflix. A neighbor was interested in Discovery as well, so I shared my login with her, and she shared her Hulu with me. I can't justify paying for 3 services, but I can pay for 1 in exchange for the additional 2. Yes, at some point I'll put CBS on pause, but at the same time, I don't mind paying for it right now. And that's an interesting thing about this email is she won't be as likely to put CBS All Access on pause if her 2 other friends are continuing to give her access to their logins and enjoying something on CBS All Access that maybe she doesn't. And she's like, well, I don't want to cut them off, and they're letting me use Netflix. So it could be a way to keep people subscribed.
And it basically, she's part of a family. There's a family of people sharing these passwords, and built in, yes, you could call it a freeloading problem, but also they're creating powerful social pressure to keep her paying that bill every single month.
I mean, I just think it's elegant to charge people based on simultaneous streams and just leave it at that and not worry too much about trying to control how and when people watch, because then it becomes anti-consumer for the people following the rules, where you're like, wait, I can't watch this because I'm outside my house, and you're trying to make sure nobody gets around the rules or anything. Just make nice, simple rules and then just live with it. And I think you end up doing just fine.
Yeah, I agree.
Justin Robert Young, thank you so much for joining us, my friend.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be with you boys.
As always. What are you doing tomorrow?
Well, Tom, I'll be at the Out of Bounds Comedy Festival. Come on down at 8 o'clock. 8:30 is when we start.
Doors at 8.
Doors at 8.
Yeah.
We are at the Hideout Theater, and we got some amazing comics opening for us, and then a star-studded night attack. Not only Tom Merritt, but also a cavalcade of some mystery guests, and we're playing a really fun game, one we haven't done in a little bit, so it'll be a great time. Otherwise, you can follow me at Justin R. Young, or if you like political talk, you can go ahead on over to politics.com or search for the Politics podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we're live on twitch.tv/Night Attack, also on diamondclub.tv, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Talk to you again next week.
Hey guys, Brian and Tom here, and it's just the same old message at the end of the credits, just like always.
That's right, Brian. Nothing new here except your name showing up.
Oh my gosh,
because
I've got a name.
You just supported us on Patreon.
Yeah, all those $5 donors. Look at that. That's your name in pixels. We're gonna make you famous, kid. Put your
There's
name in
some
pixels on
classic
the internet.
names in there, but some of you are new. Some of you aren't there. It's sad. What can they do, Brian?
I mean, they could go to patreon.com/cordkillers and pledge $5 an episode and be one of these amazing people, like this one.
Amazing.
Oh, look at that name right there.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.